we mention the word mark, your average person would probably think the mark of the beast or the gospel according to Mark. Yet, true, those two are in the Bible. But what one does not realize or has studied, there are other marks. A few of them. And Genesis chapter 4 is the very first mark, which is also upon a human. Genesis 4:13, and Cain said unto the Lord, my punishment is greater than I can bear. I mean, he's going to be a fugitive and a vagabond. He's murdered his brother. There's been no law against murder. And God is making Cain a fugitive. And he's like, with all the world, with my brothers and sisters, because Adam and Eve had other children. And those children had children. Now it is found to be wrong, murder. God has to do something to Cain so others will realize. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from the face, and from thy face shall I be hid. And I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth. And it shall come to pass that everyone, so there are other people on the earth by now, that findeth me shall slay me. All right, now it comes to the conclusion that God has ascribed to a murderer a capital punishment of death. That's from Genesis all the way through to Revelation. The earth cries out the blood of the slain until the one that slain, the slayer, be put to death. And America, it cries out blood because the people who commit murder are not put to death. When we continue on, shall slay me. And the Lord said unto him, therefore whosoever slayeth Cain, because there's been no law yet, there's been no decree yet for a murderer. That's what only puts Cain free of the death penalty. You can't charge a criminal with a law that has not been written yet, or even said. Vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And the Lord set a mark upon Cain, least any find in him. And what we have is here's the very first mark, and it's upon a human, a man, a murderer. God has distinguished this man from all the world that, hey, listen, don't you slay him. He committed a crime that was not a crime yet, and he marked him. We're not told what that mark is. We're not told how God did it. But God set a mark upon Cain, and I know some preachers out there will say that mark was, the black skin of the African. And then some religions out there, some occults will say, the black mark is the mark of Cain. The black mark, of the African people are they're devils and all that. That's foolish. We're not told that God made this man a black man. We're not told. We say he set a mark upon Cain. Again, he could put it on the forehead. He could put it on, whatever it is. We don't know. So that's the first mark. It's a mark from a man who killed his brother. Where there was no law until now, because Cain said, listen, someone's going to slay me. The law is proclaimed. Cain coin gets a mark. What is that mark? I don't know. But we're to study the Bible and the context. I think we get the idea what the mark is. But, so Leviticus 19:28. In the law of the Jewish law, written by Moses, given to him by God, Leviticus is a Jewish book of the Old Testament of the laws given by God. It says 19:28, ye shall not make any cuttings in your flesh for the dead. Alright? There are people who will cut themselves because they lost lost family member has died, somebody has died. When Ezekiel's dealing with the Baal worshippers, they were cutting themselves. And you hear this kind of thing all around the world. The cutting of the flesh for sins, the cutting of the flesh for death. The maniac of Gadara, he was cutting himself. That is a satanic move when you start cutting yourself. I have met people who their minds went, and I'm not going to say where it went, but what happened or anything, but then they start cutting themselves. Causing pain, causing blood. But this is for the dead. Nor put any marks, plural, upon you. I am the Lord. So, the printing of marks, plural. In the Jewish law, you say, well, we're not under the law. But there are some things in the book of Leviticus, Exodus, Deuteronomy, there are some things in there, you ought to follow. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Well, are you going to say you can't follow that one because it's in the law? It's also in the New Testament. And then if you want to find a verse on how what God thinks about tattoos, they're ink on you. And it's just amazing today for me personally. I'm going to say this is me personally. I can see a beautiful woman. And the moment I see that she has even the smallest tattoo, man, that turns me on. And I see all around, I'm in Daytona Beach, Florida. I'm on, everybody is tattooed today. The young, the old, the male, the female, the sweet and innocent, the biker, they're tattooed. God writes to us in 66 books what he thinks of tattoo. Now maybe Cain's mark was a type of tattoo. Realize one of the biggest tattoos they had was the skull, which represents death and Calvary. Because the hill of Golgotha means the skull, where Christ died. Maybe you are setting yourself with an icon upon your flesh, marking yourself. Because beyond a shadow of doubt, someone who has a tattoo on their body is setting forth their hey, look. It's not, how can I say? It is not for a human to have because we're not born with marks and tattoos. This is something that has followed by the nations and the islands of false God, false worship, and the devils to tattoo themselves. Am I saying tattoos are the devil? That's not what is natural. That's the word I was looking for. That's not natural for mankind. And only society today has made tattooing anybody and everybody Oh, no, that's okay. It's wonderful, beautiful. It's artwork. Don't go with the world. The world don't know nothing. Go with the Bible. I mean, Leviticus may be the law for the Jewish people, but it also gives us instruction on what God thinks. How does he feel about it? I mean, evidently, he's not happy with people who cut their flesh. Now, I'm not talking about somebody who goes to work and, like me one time, I was in the ribs of a submarine, and I was using a grinder, and I practically sliced my finger off. No, I was accidental. That was a work hazard. There have been many times I even still get scars in my body from times that I had an accident. That's not what it's talking about here. It's talking about somebody who is purposely taking cutting instrument and cutting off your flesh. That's not natural. And the marks upon your body. So the first mark is God marking a man because he's a murderer. The second place we see marks on the body is man doing it to man, whether it be somebody else or the man himself doing it. Neither God or the devil. What possible work can a man do for himself or for someone else that can please God? When man is the authority. Nothing. Okay, this message came in Ezekiel 9:3. This is where this message came from. Ezekiel 9:3. And the glory of God of Israel was gone up from the cherub, where he was to the threshold of the house, that's the temple, and he called to the man clothed with linen, which had the writer's inkhorn by his side. Alright? I mean, when you tattoo, you got ink. And the Lord said to him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem. Set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. So God is having this man into the city of Jerusalem, Jews, God's people, the Hebrews. And those who are sorry, those who are embarrassed by the sins of the people in the city, he said, listen, take your inkhorn and put a mark on their forehead. Now, this is the first time that the forehead shows up with a mark. We have a man marked by God because he's a murderer. We have men marking men. Now we have a servant, somehow, angel or whoever, of God going through marking Jews who are sorry for the sins. And to the others he said in my hearing, go ye after through the city and smite. Let not your eyes spare, neither have pity. Slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children and women. That's the mark today. That's the tattooing. It's women, it's men, it's young, it's old. Even a little child, he may not go to a tattoo bar, but he can open a box of popcorn and get a prize and be tattooed. Where it comes off, it still is a tattoo. A tattoo is a tattoo. It's an imitation of God marking somebody who's doing right. It's an imitation of somebody who is in a crime of murder. And it's for other people to do to other people, to themselves, for a mark of identity. It says, but come not near any man whom is the mark, and begin at my sanctuary. And they began at the ancient men which were before the house. Ezekiel 9:6, slay utterly old, young, both maids and little children and women, but come not near any man upon whom is the mark. Begin at my sanctuary. So, here is a mark of Jehovah, mark of the Lord, upon Jewish people that when God sends the death angel, the slayers, when God sends them out, if you see their mark placed by that man, you know where else there's a mark for the Jews? In Egypt. They would take the blood of the lamb and put it on the 3 posts of the door. And then when the Lord saw the mark, I'll pass over you. When he sees the mark on their foreheads, Jewish people that are repentant, that are sorry for the actions against God, God orders them to be marked and to be spared from being slain. And if you were to look at the slain in the land in Jerusalem hit now, no one had a mark that was dead. They were alive. They were protected. Now, Revelation 13. We got to realize something before we move to the next one. We got to realize that God and the devil takes an imitation of what God has. God has a bride, the Christian. The devil has his own bride, he has his own church. God has ministers, Satan has ministers. God has a city, Satan has a city. God is in heaven, Satan will dwell in hell for all eternity, lake of fire. God has one aspect for what man is to do, Satan has another aspect, in rebellion against God. So if God has a mark, and he does, the mark of Cain, which only shows up on one person, and the marking of these Hebrews that, don't kill them. Now we get to the mark of the beast. The mark of the beast is Satan's mark. This mark is in the Bible after the church is called out. The church is nowhere to be seen when this mark comes. So, don't be worried as a Christian. We're going to be out of here. And if we're not out of here, and the mark does come before the rapture, the mark does not go for us. In other words, if the government came up and said, now we're going to put a mark in your right hand, we're going to put it on your forehead, that's going to be a credit card, that's going to be your banking, that's going to be everything. As a Christian, you don't need to worry. I mean, if I were to become such a time for my children that I can't remember who I am, where I am, what I am, why I am, if I can't remember, and if I were to stray out in public, and we had this happen to a guy, he left the nursing home and he died in our neighborhood. If I were to stray out and the cops were to see me and question me, I don't have my license or my IDs or anything, if there's this mark here to tell me, who my children are, where am I supposed to be, that would be a great help. That would call for, a vagabond. Well, in the case that I go somewhere, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know what's going on, yeah, and that would help identify that person to the authorities, say, this is where you belong. This is who you are. There's many cases I see on the Facebook, that this person who's got medical problems is missing. As for the good towards God, and as the evil towards the devil, now, Revelation 13:14. And deceive, that's not God, them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast. So, you got a Pentecostal event in the tribulation, which was wounded by the sword in the grip. Jesus Christ resurrected, the beast is going to be resurrected. Satan copies God. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. The image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. All right, so this image dies, comes back to life, is giving an AI intelligence, and if you don't worship the beast, you are sentenced to death. Now, does that bring to what we've been studying? Cain was a murderer, had a mark. Tattooing, one of the most specific tattoos is, the skull. Then there was a mark in Ezekiel to spare the lives of those that mourned, those that were sorry, those that did not take part of the sins of Jerusalem. And who had not the mark was slain. So, and he caused all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive the mark in their right hand or their foreheads. Does that sound familiar? That's Ezekiel. That was the marking of the Jewish people for life. Satan has a mark for all of the world, male, female, young, and old, who will not follow his beast. To receive a mark, there it is, in the right hand or in their foreheads. Ezekiel's the forehead. We don't know where Cain's mark was. I mean, we go with scripture, we probably know. That forehead was in Ezekiel for God's people to be spared. The devil has a mark in the forehead or the right hand that they may not die. And if you're found without the mark, unless you take the mark, you'll be killed. A complete reversal of what God's mark is, Ezekiel. Satan has counterfeited God's mark. And that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of the name. So, let's say you go into an American store, anyway, and you have no credit cards, you have no debit cards, you have no money, you ain't got nothing to mark you as an American. You ain't got no foreign currency either. You go in there, you want to get a carton of milk, you can't, because you don't have the money. In the tribulation period, after this point, you may want your child to get health care because they're sick or something has happened. You walk into that emergency room, you and the child does not have a mark, you're not getting medical attention. You want to get a soda at the corner store and you don't have that mark, you're not getting a soda. You probably get the law. Here is wisdom. Let him that has understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. So Satan's mark is a number, 666. And even the world knows that. We don't know what Cain's mark was. We don't know what the mark was upon the Jewish people in Ezekiel. And there's tons of marks for tattooing. Revelation 14. Say with a loud voice, fear God, and give glory to him. For the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him that made heaven. Well, in dialysis, they have a TV, and I put the thing on, and they've got many programs there that, other than God, all is made. And down here in Florida, you got that Kennedy Space Center, and they say one of the things you can go do is you can go see the original creation of whatever is here. You can't have the original creation when you don't have the original creator. God. In the beginning, God created heaven and earth. Not no flop of nothing that was to be. And there followed another angel saying, Babylon is fallen, the great city. She has made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. Fornication is sexual sin as murder. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. So we are in the two realms. Now, it was definitely written down that adultery and murder is against God's law. I mean, it's wrong. It's a sin. But Cain didn't know that. That's why God marked him. The angel followed him, saying with a loud voice, If any man worship the beast, his image, and receive his mark on his forehead or his hand, the same shall drink the wine of the wrath of God, which poured out without mixture unto the cup of his indignation. He shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels, in the presence of the Lamb. So, instant damnation for the devil's mark. Revelation 14:10. The same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture in the cup of his indignation. He shall be tormented in the fire of the brimstone, in the presence of his holy angels, in the presence of the Lamb, Jesus. And the smoke of their torment set up forever and ever, and they have no rest day or night, who worship the beast and the image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of the beast. Looks like the lake of fire is not really a place, but, the law of thermodynamics is, you can't get rid of it. It's always there. Whether you burn it and becomes ash, or you burn it and becomes smoke, or you pulverize it and recycle it, it's there. Your soul is there. Here it is like a vapor, like a smoke. And it is just in torments. As that man said in the book of Luke, I am tormented in this flame, being in torments, tormenting. Revelation 16:2, and the first went, poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome, grievous sword upon the men that had the mark of the beast, and upon them that worshipped his image. All right, so throughout all the earth, this is vile. And it was a grievous, noisome sword. And when it's poured out, it does not get poured out on those who don't have the mark, but those that do have the mark. That's the complete opposite of what Ezekiel was. Ezekiel was, if you had the mark, they would leave you be. And they didn't have the mark, you were to kill them. Satan, on the other hand, if you have the mark, you are open for the judgment of God. If you don't have the mark, you're spared. You're going to wonder if Satan's going to go around and he's going to be using Ezekiel 9 for his mark to say, hey, what's wrong with this? Didn't God have a mark? Weren't there people spared? Well, you receive my mark and you will be spared a lie, a deception. For John 8:44 says the devil is a liar. He's a liar from the beginning. There is a mark of the beast, yes. And Christians don't need to worry about it. You're signed, sealed, and delivered. Whether the mark happens in our time or after the rapture. Okay? It is the mark of the beast as marked upon worshippers of the beast. And they are given to the torments of the wrath of God and the lake of fire forever. Those that don't have the mark, they're spared. There is the mark in Ezekiel of Hebrews. Hebrews, Jews, that if they get the mark, they will be spared because they are horrified. They are in disgust of what the children of Israel are doing in Jerusalem. And there are people who are killed who don't have the mark. And then we look at that we are permanently by the Bible forbidden to put any marks in our skin. And then we read the mark of Cain. And it seems only Cain got that mark. And it was a protection. But it was because he's a murderer. We have a mark of God. We have man marking man. We have a mark of God. We have a mark of God for a murderer, T4I. We have a forbiddance to mark men in their skin. We have a mark of Jehovah, of God, that would keep men alive. Then we have a mark of Satan, the mark of the beast, where it will be a mark upon them for judgment. And those with not the mark are spared. So, I mean, that's the Bible on mark.